Free Golden Eagles for War Thunder. Download the app in the description below.
Alright, so I gotta talk about this. I can't let it slip unnoticed. My upload schedule has been absolute shite. I apologize for this. It's been, okay, on one side I've been really lazy, kind of taking quite a few days off without actually streaming and doing the videos, but I've been doing a lot of contacting off stream to get the sponsorships, partnerships and whatnot kind of set up for now. So month of December looking pretty neat if everything goes down without a problem. Now, the main issue I've been having is to do with Shadowplay, and all of you asking me, what do I use to record? There's your answer, Shadowplay. Now, Shadowplay comes with your NVIDIA GPU, it's a software, and it has one really good feature. It's called Record the Last 20 Minutes of Gameplay. So the way it works is that it records 24/7. So whenever you have a good game, and you finished it, you just press one button, it's F10 for me, and it records the last 20 minutes, which is really useful if you're playing on stream and you have a good match and you just record it. The old way of recording, this is using Bandicam, OBS, Dxtory, bloody Camtasia if you want. These softwares work the way that you start the recording before you go into a match. Then you play the match, then you stop the recording, and then you figure out if you want to use that game or not. The reason it's annoying is because you can't tell if the game you're about to play is going to be a good one or a bad one. So to make the old recording fashion, kind of usable, you would have to record every single game and then delete all those matches that were not actually useful. The benefit is that you only record the actual start of the game and the end of the game. With the 20 minutes, you are limited to, 20 minutes. It's always 20 minutes. You can't just say, record the last match that I played. It's going to be the last match. Perhaps the previous portion of the last match, and if the match was over 20 minutes long, then you get slightly less than one match. So it can be a bit annoying to work with, but in all, seriousness, Shadowplay has been amazing to get footage with. And the video that you're watching in the background for today is an old clip from a stream. Now, some of you will probably not... Actually, I don't think anybody's going to be able to really recognize this particular match until the very moment that is going to be showcased. Then everybody's going to know it. But the fact is that Shadowplay has been giving me a bit of a hard time lately. I've been recording gameplay, and I think I've mentioned this before in a video. It goes black. In the sense that I record the past 20 minutes, I don't get an actual notification that the recording was saved properly. I go into my folder, and I find the recording, the correct date, correct name, correct timestamp, but when I try to open it, it doesn't matter if you're using VLC, Bullshit Player, or just Windows, Media Player, whatever it's called, it will just display black picture. It has like 5 gigabytes in size, but physically there's nothing there to open. So it's a file I can't work with. And I'm a little bit gutted because of it. I've lost quite a few particular clips from streams, especially, that I was going to incorporate in a few kill montages. Spoilers ahead. It's not the end of the world, but it does sometimes get a bit kind of demotivating if you have a really good match. And it's not just, the kind of strength of the match, but the overall kind of progression. Because what I like doing is, I don't like showing too many matches in one video. I actually like that progression from the start to finish. So you get to see how I go into a game, how I play, how I get around the problems. And in the background, you're about to see a colossal failure in the KPZ-70. I'm just driving straight down into the capture point. A cocky move, a very aggressive one, and one that's going to cost me. But it doesn't matter, because I have something called spawn point management. We'll talk more about that in a second. The overall video strength, I record in 1440p, because I play in 1440p, and then I downscale that to 1080. And I render that at 60 FPS. And lately I've been noticing, only in a few videos, only in a few recordings, a slight pixelation, and this is one of them. Now, maybe this is because I have some weird kind of OCD, maybe it's because this is a recording that was done whilst also streaming, so it was very CPU intensive or GPU intensive, but I just can't tell anymore. And I don't consider myself like a buff in the sense that every video has to have perfect bitrate, perfect, no graphical glitches, no nothing. But I do think that when you have equipment at my level, I would like to have a bit of a higher setting for those kind of renders. So I will be maybe playing around with some of the settings if needed, but the worst part is that I can't render in 1440p simply due to my internet speed being not too good enough, and I can't upload fast enough. So back to spawn points. Spawn points here, spawn points there, spawn points everywhere. We talked about this before. I've done a video all the way back in, I believe, like April, May. How do you get spawn points? Well, one of the tricks that I've been using in top tier planes has been the Orado B2, and every time I go into a match, especially on stream, the question is posed, why the B2 and why not the C3? There's a distinctive difference between the B and the C variants. The guns. But one of my problems with the C3 is that those guns and the overall top speed of the plane makes it a lot less maneuverable, making dive bombing slightly harder. That's why, in a lot of cases, the Orado C3 is considered more of a fighter than it is a bomber. In terms of the B2 is, in my opinion, the best bomber in the game. And it's not because it has the best bomb load, not because it has the best top speed, or because it has, 15,000 gunners like a TU-4. No, the trick to the Orado B2 is that it's 6.7. You can use it ever since you unlock the Tiger II. Now, with the Tiger IIH, you are playing the Orado B2 at top tier, meaning its spawn cost is maximum. But when you're playing it at any BR above 8, it's minimum spawn cost. And that means that I can spawn the Orado, get 1 or 2 ground kills, and I can multiply the amount of spawn points that I had to the point I can now spawn any vehicle from my lineup. Now, my initial cost there was actually quite failed. I don't have enough to spawn my MiG-15 bis. What I do have is my Gepard, and a Gepard costs a fraction of what I can make back. This is the spawn point trading system. What I've just done is kill the plane that costs about 7 times as much as my tank, and then proceeded to just unravel most of my ammunition into a MBT-70 that is at this point what you probably could refer to as spawn camping. Is that a problem? No, it's not, because those hits, along with that initial kill, gave me enough spawn points to spawn anything from my lineup that I want. Now, something worth mentioning here for those of you who might be a little bit more beginnerish to the whole lineup build, what I recommend is that you don't have a lineup built with the same classification of a vehicle, which means not just using heavy tanks, or just using light tanks, or just using mediums. Same works with planes. If you spawn a bomber, and then respawn a bomber, that second spawn of a bomber is going to cost more than if you first spawn the fighter in. So you want to kind of alternate these lineups. You don't want to have just, you don't want to be a one-trick pony. And hence, using the Orado first, a bomber, and now spawning in a MiG-15 bis, which is a fighter plane, I'm getting a reduced spawn cost, which means that I can spawn more, and I can get more out of this match. Now, the rocket pods that I'm using here, for anybody wondering, are the K variant, which I'm going to blindly guess are the ones that are unlocked first. I could be wrong, but they're the ones that I've been having the best results with. What the difference between the K and the M variant is, I have no idea. I'm sure somebody in chat will be more than welcome to explain this to us, but for me, my overall suggestion is use Tiny Tims. They are the dual big rockets you can find, and if you hit, you're also going to eliminate, which is probably what you're looking for when using rockets, since the kind of new close air support meta. Now, with these rocket pods that I'm using now, the problem is that I have nothing to shoot at, my plane's been damaged, and I'm in a 1v1 with a Banshee. He's behind me. And I'm stressing that out because a Banshee is a very unique vehicle. One of the questions that's often posed is, should I go for the P-80 or the Banshee? The answer is this: go for the P-80 if it's your first jet you're ever going to get. If you've flown jets before, and you've made your way to 8.0 before, go for that F2H, because its performance at 8.0 is one of the best in the game at its BR. And speaking of battle ratings, a mistake that I see very commonly performed here, in the case of the FRF Bearcat that was trailing the CL-13, is bad lineups. And you might point out, yeah, but you're flying the Orado B2 at 6.7 in a 9.0 matchmaker. True, but the Orado B2 is still a very, very dangerous plane. Do not underestimate it at any battle rating given. In the case of that Bearcat pilot, though, I mean, at its finest, you have 4 AN-M3 cannons. I don't even think that was the B variant. That, I think, might have been the machine gun version of it, which means 450 cals, and I think all of them are M2s. It just doesn't stand the ground. Against something like a Falcon, Shilka, or a Gepard, you're going to get shot down before even getting close to your target. Against planes, a semi-competent opponent is absolutely going to mop the floor with you. So for the livelihood of trying to have a good survivability time in the match, consider getting a good lineup, because a good lineup will change the way that you experience the game. So, the Banshee got crit there, and I thought he was going to crash 100%, then I almost crashed, and he pulled out of it. He's only got a slight damage to its aileron section, I believe, and he is returning to base. Now, I'm convinced and conceived and decided this has to be my kill, so I'm going for it. And that means venturing over the enemy AAA field, which for some reason looks odd. Now, I can't confirm or deny that this particular video clip was before or after the fix or changes to the airfield AAA, but they're still inconsistent. You know, there's matches where I fly over the airfield and I get instantly blown up, my engine gets damaged, the entire plane is just beyond destroyed. And then there's matches like this where I'm going into a vertical stall fight with a P80 on my 6 at, you know, speeds sub 200, and the AAA is just doing 0 damage whatsoever. Now, this video initially was going to be about the performance of the new rockets. And yeah, they are quite nice. They do damage. But that's against the plane, and as Whip Energy has proven several times over, I don't think he's ever going to stop doing it. He's probably the next close air support meta. The dude's insane. If you haven't watched what Whip did, this might have been yesterday or 2 days ago, he uploaded a video where he's using the Tiny Tims with a delayed fuse, shooting people in head-ons. Absolute beast. I mean, I'm amazed watching his content as somebody who's done close air support personally for like, you know, 6 months straight probably. You know, trying to master, you know, every distance, every rocket type. I have to say, yeah, the whole patch change, it did kind of ruin my fun in close air support planes, but there's still bombers, there's still ways to get, you know, stuff done, and I've moved to SBA since anyways. But Whip, man, this dude has some insane skill and just overall ideology. I mean, I thought close air support 2.0 was going to happen at some point. Some vehicle was going to get found. I did not expect that to be something he's trying to make happen, and it's bonkers. I love what the guy is doing. Back to the topic at hand, just to kind of wrap it up. When I was doing the whole initial testing, you know, using all the 3 different rocket types on the MiG-15s as I was going through the spading process for the MiG-15 bis, the other MiG-15 bis, and the MiG-17, I realized that these rockets are very good against soft targets. Yet again, like HVAR, against primarily, you know, back turrets of the KPZs, against the first Leo, if you see it anyways, with this batch you probably won't, and SPA. To me, it looks like the game mode has evolved a lot more around this kind of 1v1 aspect. Planes fighting other planes in a 1v1, we've seen that in this particular match. SPA, very strong against doing capture points and obviously shooting down enemy aircraft. And then enemy aircraft having to almost, you know, necessarily focus on these SPA, not just so they don't get shot down, but because those are the only targets they can reliably go through. Now, are these MiG-15's rockets anything insanely useful? I have to say probably no. For a person without a trained crew, mainly I believe it's the weapon maintenance you have to have upgraded. Without extensive knowledge in how jets perform, how they fly, it's going to be pretty tough to go for most of the targets on the battlefield and reliably go through their armor. But if you're willing to go for a bit of a challenge and have a bit of fun, get a few free kills flying out planes, maybe focus on a few SPA, if that is something you're after, this is probably the best bet for close air support at top tier in the current few patches. Being that the Sabre has its rockets laid out across the entire wing, jeopardizing a lot of the speed, a lot of the drag comes from those. These rockets, on the other hand, are mounted in a rocket pod. So there's less drag, and there is overall no need to recalibrate where those are going to be going. And in the background, a MiG-15 bis, a fellow teammate also showcasing how a Vulcan can be very easily taken out. And what we used there was, yet again, that same reverse bait technique. Whilst the Vulcan was focused on trying to go after me, he got killed by the MiG-15. When you're flying a plane, you want to have your eyes peeled. You want to check your 6, you want to know where you are, you want to always reposition and always spot for the enemy spawn. When you're playing in SPA, you got to be a goddamn owl, because that head has to turn 360 in all directions. You need to know exactly where everybody on the map is if you want to have a chance at surviving. But when you do, oh boy, does SPA become overpowered.